of dark in here, and it's just, you can hear the grasshoppers and the crickets chirping. It's because it's like 9 o'clock at night and I'm beginning this video. So as the title implies, this is going to be my 24-hour Rory Gilmore readathon vlog. I've been looking forward to this readathon all week, and I just finished up a bunch of AP European history homework, and I'm so ready to do a lot of reading for the next 24 hours because I've been super busy this week with schoolwork, and I've just been looking forward to just sitting down and reading as much as I can. This is being hosted by the lovely, beautiful, amazing Carolyn Murray Reads and the wonderful yoga-esque. I always think of yoga when I think of Kira because I think she's a yoga teacher, which is so cool. But Kira, I will link their channels down below. If you don't know, basically, Gilmore Girls is a TV show. It's a pretty popular one in the US, but also Kira's from the UK and she really likes it. So, but our main character is Rory Gilmore and her mom, Lorelai Gilmore. But Rory is a very avid reader, and there are many books mentioned in Gilmore Girls. Also, sorry you can see my shadow because I'm using this weird light so that the lighting isn't complete shit. So yeah. But there are many books mentioned in Rory and Gilmore Girls. I think there's like 300 something. But yeah, I am trying to tick off as many Rory Gilmore books as I can. And I've read quite a few already. Well, not a lot in comparison to the how many there are at large, but I think I've read like 40 or 30 of the books on the list. So yeah, but I will show you guys what is on my priority reading list for this readathon. This is a very ambitious TBR. I definitely will not be getting through all of these by any means, but it's just like what I'm planning on picking through. There's one book on here that I actually don't have a physical copy, and it's a short story, and it's going to be really easy to get through because it's super short. But yeah, the first is Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress. This is a book, I believe, surrounding the Chinese Cultural Revolution, which I think is so interesting. I really haven't read a lot of historical fiction set in China, so I'm really excited to read this. I think this is going to be crazy good. And this, I think, will either be between this book and another book on here that I will mention when I get to it. But yeah, this is definitely like somewhat of a priority. There's one book that I'm planning on like definitely getting through though. But I do want to read this soon, even if I don't get to it during this readathon. So the next book I have is A Room with a View by Ian Forrester. This book, I actually watched the movie last night in preparation because I heard it's good to watch the movie for this book in particular. I've heard like 2 people say that. I think Carolyn was actually one of the ones who said that, but I watched the film because I'd actually started this a while ago, and I think I'm like 70 pages in, and I just couldn't get into it, and I thought maybe if I watched the movie, it would get me more like interested and excited for it. And I started this like probably a month ago, and then I just put it down, and I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna finish this like later on, and that's what I'm planning on doing. So I'm already a little bit into this, which is nice. I don't know how many pages this is. 230, so I think I can finish it. I think it won't be that difficult, but yeah, I'm excited. I really like the movie. The cinematography was beautiful. I think I went to the 1986 or 87 version. I don't know what year it came out. One of those years. Alright, so my next book I've also kind of made my way into already because it's a collection of poetry, and I usually read poetry like kind of on a, like just when I want to, and I don't read it in its whole, but I decided I might do it for this book. So on the Rory Gilmore reading list, it says, I'm pretty sure it's like the new poems of Emily Dickinson or something like that, but I'm just gonna pretend it's just like an anthology of Emily Dickinson's poetry. I'm gonna like take that pretty loosely. So I'm just hopefully going to be making my way through the selected poems of Emily Dickinson, and this is the, I think, leather-bound edition from Barnes & Noble. And this is very beautiful. It has gold sprayed edges. But yeah, this has many poems of Emily Dickinson, And Emily Dickinson is definitely one of my favorite poets, and I actually haven't finished this, but I've read a lot of her other poetry just for school, and like I have like a big anthology of English and American poets, and I've read a lot of her stuff from there. So I think I will be able to get through this because it's pretty short, and I'm already like 40 pages through, and I think there's only like 40 pages left. So next book is one that I think I might start if I finish like enough of these books. It's really not on my top priority, but it is here if I want to pick it up. And it is Dante's Inferno. I've been meaning to read this for so long, and I just haven't picked it up. I'm kind of nervous. It is very daunting, but I'm excited at the same time, like apprehensive. So yeah, this is the first volume of his Divine Comedy, and as I think I mentioned before, I'm taking AP European History right now, and it's such a fun class. But we were studying a little bit of Dante and Geoffrey Chaucer, but we studied Dante in particular, and his kind of reinstatement of Italian vernacular with the Divine Comedy, which was really interesting. Yeah, I'm really excited to read this and hopefully read more of the Divine Comedy. And the last book I have, which I don't know if I'm really going to get to because I don't know, but it is The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. So I read this, I tried reading this a while ago, about a year ago honestly, and I really didn't appreciate it for what it was. I feel like, at the time I feel like I was still, I feel like I'm always developing my reading taste, but at the time I was really still developing a reading taste, and or a more sophisticated reading taste, I guess. I tried to read this a year ago, and I think I'll actually like really enjoy it now. But this is Joan Didion's experience with grief after the sudden death of her husband, and her daughter is incredibly sick. I believe in a medically induced coma in the hospital. Obviously in the hospital. But it's her dealing with grief and all of that. I think I read like up to page 100 or something in this, but I actually don't know. But she has a way with words, and that was one of the things that I definitely remember. And I think if I finish The Room with a View, it's definitely going to be me choosing between this book and The Little Chinese Seamstress. I don't know which one. So yeah. And the last short story, I guess, that I have, I don't have a physical copy, as I said, but it is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. And this is a very short story, but Shirley Jackson writes a lot of horror and thrillers, and I'm really excited because I read We Have Always Lived in the, where is it? We Have Always Lived in the Castle. How long ago was that? Oh my gosh, that was 1 year ago. Yeah, and then I reread it a few months ago, and it's one of my favorite books. I think it's only like 10 pages or so, which will be really nice to just breeze through if I'm kind of want to break from A Room with a View or something of that nature. So yeah, I'm excited to read The Lottery because I will definitely be getting to that. Even if I don't finish any of the other books, I'll definitely finish The Lottery. So yeah, I don't know what time it is. I don't have my phone. I think it's probably around 10 o'clock. So the readathon starts in 2 hours. I really usually don't stay up past like 11:30 because I just like to go to sleep. But I want to stay up a little bit past 12 so I can read, and then just do most of my reading tomorrow because I'm not really like a night owl. I just don't like staying up super late. But I'm going to stay up probably till like 12:30 so I can do a little bit of reading at the start. And then finish stuff more tomorrow because I don't really have anything to do tomorrow. I think that's all I have to say. So I will see you guys in a little bit. I think we're actually going to work on my bullet journal for September because it's August 28th. So think around 9 o'clock. I got up around 7:30. I didn't really like update again last night just because I was really tired, but I did read a bit when the clock struck 12, and I started where I left off in A Room with a View, and now I'm on page 105, and yeah, I'm liking it. I'm not loving it, but I'm enjoying it for what it is. I don't know, sometimes I feel like I read books and then I just can't pinpoint why I'm not like super loving it, but I don't know, we'll see. I know it happens because I watched the film, but I'll see where it goes like with the book and whatnot. So yeah, I think I'll be able to finish it by tonight. But if you guys don't know, the Readathon, Caroline and Kiara made like a bingo, and one of the little bingo squares was to make a meal inspired by Luke Steiner, and I found a recipe for banana chocolate chip pancakes, which sounds really good, and I always like forget what they serve it, what Luke always serves. I just remember hamburgers, and I don't eat meat, so I figured I would make like a breakfast. So I figured, sorry if you can hear cars, I'm outside. So I figured I'd make like a breakfast. So yeah, I am going to probably go do that and read whilst I do it. So yeah, I'm at, with A Room with a View, I'm at the part where Lucy just accepts Cecil's proposal. So yeah, and they go to this little gathering, gathering of sorts to like announce their engagement and stuff. So yeah, that's where I'm at, and I will see. I don't know how much I'm gonna love it, but I'm liking it. I'm just not like woo, not like, you know, but Ian Forrester's writing, it's really lovely. There's that bug. But yeah, I'm gonna go make pancakes because I'm kind of hungry. So I think that's all I have to say. I'm gonna go make pancakes though, and all that good stuff. So yeah. Everyone, it is around 10 o'clock today or tonight, and I finished 2 books, which I'm really excited. Well, one of them was a short story to finish another book by 12 o'clock because I'm almost done with it. So yeah, the first book that I am going to talk about which is the first book I finished. I finished it this afternoon, but it is A Room with a View by Ian Forrester. So I will say this book was a bit of a disappointment for me. I don't know why. I can't really pinpoint it. but I was just a bit indifferent to all the characters and what was happening. I felt like I just really had no investment in the story at all. And I really can't, sometimes I feel like most of the time I can explain why I like or dislike a book. For this book, I just can't. I just wasn't really, I really just didn't love it. I enjoyed it, like, it was like fun and quirky. There were definitely a lot of parts that I liked, and also there was a lot of lovely lines in this, but just overall I felt rather apathetic towards the book. I just had no feelings when I was reading it, I guess, and I don't know why. Like, once again, I just feel like there are some books that I feel like you just don't enjoy, maybe, and there's no particular reason. I feel like maybe eventually I could reread this and give it and have very different thoughts, but I don't know. But yeah, A Room with a View, if you guys don't know what this is about, it's about Lucy Honeychurch, which is a very, very cool name. I like her name a lot. And her trip to Italy with her cousin Charlotte. Her cousin is like her chaperone, and she kind of, it's her experience with a bunch of different people on their trip, and then also her sort of meeting and her and George Emerson's lives intertwining, and how that plays out in England when she goes back home and she becomes engaged to this very uptight man. I think that's the best way to describe him. I watched the film, as I said earlier, and okay, Cecil was legit my favorite character. I don't know why. Like, I know he was kind of I mean, I don't think he was supposed to be an antagonist by any means, but I really liked Cecil for some reason. I thought he was so funny. I will say, I think that was one of the characters that I actually really loved, and I felt like emotion towards. He was so funny to me, and like just the way he acted, it was just so like ridiculous, and I loved it. I was here for Cecil. But other than that, the characters, I just had no emotion towards any of the characters except for Cecil. Yeah, Cecil was just really funny. He was just kind of ridiculous, and he's just very uptight and very pretentious, and he just tries so hard to put this image, project this image of himself outward, and yeah, he was interesting. I liked Cecil. But I think I'm going to give this book 3, maybe 3.5 stars. I'm not entirely sure yet. Around that general reading. Just because I felt like, as I said, felt like I didn't have much emotion towards it. I wasn't really invested in it. But it was a good story, and I generally enjoyed what was happening, and yeah. So, the next one that I finished is a short story. I can't even call this a book because it's literally like a 10-page short story. But it is on the Rory Gilmore reading list, and it is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. I don't actually have a physical copy, but I read it on my Kindle. And wow, oh my gosh, okay. Shirley Jackson is a really good writer. She writes horror. She writes horror so well. If you guys have read any of her work, you will know what I mean. Like, the way she writes it, my dog is scratching his nose. I don't know if you can hear that. The way she writes it is so intriguing, and Charlie, he's so cute. Come here. He always like looks at me like with this side. He always says this. He always says this to me. He's like, he does that. I don't know why. Charlie. Okay. Well, anyways. So Shirley Jackson, as I was saying, I think one of the really interesting things she does with her writing, which is incredibly effective, is she sets up scenes, and she sets the tone for what would seem like an almost light-hearted, maybe fun event that would happen, and the events that happen completely juxtapose the scene setup. It works really well with her, with the stories she tells. And like, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, I feel like maybe she didn't, well, yeah, she did. Like, we have Mary Cat, who is a strange character, but she's generally kind of quirky. Like, you wouldn't expect her to be, I'm not going to spoil it, but you wouldn't really necessarily expect her, especially in the very beginning. You don't really think of her as someone who is doing what she's doing, especially at the very, very beginning. You definitely get the sense towards the middle, but, and then people like Constance Mary Cat's sister is a very, very lighthearted, kind of fun, almost ethereal, almost in this dream-like state. Yeah, so, and then the events that happen and what unfolds, and We Have Always Lived in the Castle, very much juxtapose the characters and some of the scenes set up, I guess. And then, as I said, I read The Lottery today, and also by Shirley Jackson, and it's one of her short stories. But this is basically, as it implies, it's like this town coming together for this annual event called The Lottery, and I won't give it away what it is, but it's weird. And I don't want to say too much because it is so short, like, you kind of just have to read it. It's literally like 10 pages long. But it's just strange, and I think that's one of the best words that sums up Shirley Jackson, is she writes very strange stuff, but it's so good. And I'm all here for it. It's strange in the best way possible. And so yeah, The Lottery was really, really good. I gave it 4 stars. I really loved it. I actually ordered a collection of her short stories because I want to read more of her short stories because they seem really good. I think, what's another one? I think Paranoia is another one. The Missing Girl or Girl, something like that. I don't know. I also ordered this really beautiful edition of We Have Always Lived in the Castle because it's one of my favorite books ever. Like, oh my god, I don't think Penguin sells it anymore, but I got it secondhand and it is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. But I have the book in this edition, which I love. I love the graphics of this. It's one of my favorite books, and I like to own many editions of my favorite books, so I thought, I was like, oh, I'll just get the Penguin edition. It's old, but I like the drawings on it. It's so interesting. I don't read a lot of horror, but I think what's interesting about Shirley Jackson is it's like horror, but it's more of like a psychological thriller. That's what I think of when I think of Shirley Jackson. I guess like psychological thriller, horror-esque, because nothing ever crazy explicit goes on in her books, at least what I've read of hers. And it's always just left open. Things are left open to the reader and left up to interpretation, which I love. I love authors who do that. Daphne du Maurier does that incredibly well. I actually didn't know this for a while. A short story I read in middle school called The Birds. I never knew this. This was by Daphne du Maurier, and I never figured it out until I looked it up a while ago because I remembered reading it. And it's such a weird story, but it's so good. It's just odd. Like, it's something that, just a very strange concept. It's basically like all these birds are accumulating and like coming together and like are attacking people. And the way I said that made it sound kind of funny, but it's like messed up. It's just so good. And I want to reread that, but it's by Daphne du Maurier. I'm getting off track here, but what I'm trying to say is authors who leave stories open to interpretation, I am all here for that, and I love it. This book I'm hoping to read for this readathon is a collection of Emily Dickinson's poetry. I don't know why I said that like that, but yeah, I think I only have like 50 more pages of it, and it's only 10 o'clock, so I definitely will be able to finish it. I spent about an hour watching these alligator videos. Mojo, come here. He kind of looks like an alligator. I've been watching so many alligator videos that like my dogs look like alligators now. Anyways, yeah, I spent a long time watching these alligator videos because it's like this guy handling alligators in South Florida. It's really cool. I don't know. I was really interested because I would never be able to do that because I would just cry of fright. I would cry of fright. But yeah, I spent a while watching those videos, but I'm going to go finish Emily Dickinson. Once again, I did not feel like filming an outro for this vlog, so I apologize. here is me ticking off the bingo chart that I wrote in my reading bullet journal, but Carolyn and Kira created it. I just copied it into my bullet journal. I did everything on here, I think, except for I just didn't watch an episode of Gilmore Girls, which, oops, I just didn't think to do that for some reason. But I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog, and I hope you are doing well. So, yeah.